Hello everyone, Shadefyre here, and welcome to the start of this playthrough of Grounded, the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids inspired survival game from Obsidian, where 4 teens have been shrunken down and they don't know why, and have to find their way out of this backyard full of terrible bug monsters. Well, I guess they're really just bugs, they're not really monsters, but they are monstrous in size, and that's the key issue. Now, of course, I played a good chunk of this across this early access period. I did a couple videos. I even did a video for the Into the Wood update that never got released because, well, basically I got lazy and didn't record the B-roll I needed for my intro, and then another update came out and I was like, you know what, we'll just delete that and we'll wait for the actual LP, because I knew I was going to LP this once it came out. So this is going to be kind of like my Subnautica LP, where I do know a good chunk of the game already, but there has been some changes even to mechanics in the last couple patches that I haven't looked into, so there's definitely going to be plenty of new stuff in here for me to find out. And of course, they added the actual story now, instead of just little tidbits that were in there before, so there's a lot more dialogue and voice acting and, you know, progression there. So let's get in here. We're going to get an actual cutscene. For the entire early access period, the game just started by dumping you into the backyard with no explanation. So, we have these 4 teens, and in multiplayer, obviously, everyone would be playing a different one, but if you're playing single player, you can actually switch between them at any time, if you want. And really all that affects is the dialogue you get. They don't have unique stats or, you know, like crafting recipes or roles or anything like that. It's literally just their voice acting. We're going to start with Pete.
My name's Peter. My friends call me Pete.
We'll probably just randomly swap them throughout the playthrough to kind of get different characters from them. And we're going to go with medium and not whoa, because whoa just sounds like the, hey, do you wish this had more of the typical level of survival game tedium in it? And no, I'm good with less tedium. We're going to go into the shade yard. So not only is this kind of inspired by Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but it also kind of falls within that vague 80s period that the movie was set within. So we have a bunch of fake 80s style brands and cartoons and everything, as I think we're going to see in this cutscene. I'm excited though. I'm excited to see where this goes, because the story stuff that was in the early access was interesting, but there wasn't really enough of it to piece much together. It was mostly just kind of snippets of what they were researching from their tiny research labs. He-Man.
You think you outsmarted me? The mighty Muldoon? I don't think so.
Oh no. Okay, yeah, it's Yoked Girth.
Next on Yoked Girth. Now a word from our sponsor. Kids, are you ready for a new wild and wacky puncho fruit flavor? Introducing Apricot. It's a punch to the gut. So stop by, fill up, and make sure you get your Billy Hog hot dog before you jet away.
Good morning, Brook Hollow. Today is October 20, 1990. This is your
No, I guess it's not 80s.
We have a
right at the
special
end of
breaking
the
report.
80s.
The police department has released information that more local teenagers have gone missing. They were last seen earlier this week, and the only connection between the teenagers is that they are all students at Brook Hollow High School. This could be linked to the disturbing trend of other possible abductions and missing teenagers from our otherwise quiet town.
Okay, so it's not like
If anyone has seen the teenagers or has any other
kind of Lost World, kids helping out local scientists situation.
Brook Hollow has put a curfew into effect for anyone under 18 starting tonight. Now to other news. In the business world, prominent practical technology signs a few deals with.
You know, I was kind of a little miffed when they first announced this, that it was going to be early access, because, you know, Obsidian got bought up by Microsoft, so they have all the funding they need. They don't need to bring in money for an unfinished game, but they did actually end up taking quite a bit of fan input into account for changes throughout the early access period, and even a few new features, so I think they actually use the early access period effectively, unlike a lot of indie developers end up doing on, Steam. Hold on. So the case that the kids come in has been dropped from the sky into this backyard? Did we fall out of a plane or something? Because originally, you would just spawn next to this case and have no idea how you got in it and why it had little child-sized indents in it.
Whoa, Pete. Oh, looks like you really stepped in it this time. Just where in the world are you? Hello? Hello? All right, Pete. Remember your scout training. Step 1, get your bearings.
All right, give it a minute for everything to load in, because that's going to be kind of stuttery every time when you first load in. So yeah, we have this container here, which has 5 child-sized slots, or I guess miniaturized child-sized slots, even though there are only 4 characters. So I wonder, is there going to be like some mystery child in here that woke up before us and got killed in the yard somewhere? We're going to like follow in their footsteps? I don't know. I really don't know what the story stuff was, because they were keeping it pretty minimal for most of the early access period. But apparently now you can beat the game, and there is an ending that we have to make our way toward. Which presumably would be getting large again.
Curious. Ovidoidia.
So of course Pete is the nerd, which is why I picked him first. He's relatable. I was a kid who was very into bugs. I was the bug kid, where kids on the playground would find something weird and they'd bring it to me, and I'd tell them what it is. I grew out of that. I kind of went through a variety of animal phases in my childhood, or kind of animal focuses. So, dinosaurs,
Wow.
then bugs,
Scout training
then
doesn't have an
reptiles,
ad for this.
and eventually it ended up at all forms of marine biology. Oop. I don't know what that stutter was about. Something loaded in the background. Alright, so because this is a survival game, at the beginning here, we just want to pick up everything. We want to load up on...
Whoa, why don't you just stay over there, small red insect?
Let's not fight any mites yet, because we don't have a weapon yet. Though you could just punch them. Mites are pretty weak, even against small children. Or, we could use the power of technology and bludgeon their head in with a rock. Alright, we got our first kill as a tiny boy. I never really had a bird phase as a kid. I was never really that into birds. I kind of stayed that way up until my girlfriend in the last couple of years kind of got me more interested in birds again, because she had an interest in them already.
Signal detected.
What's that? It sounds like a radio signal. It must be being transmitted from nearby.
So the yard is full of these landmarks. Some of them don't do anything, like this baseball is just here for navigation purposes, but some of them do actually have uses. Oh, and there's a drop of water here.
Don't even need to boil it.
So we're just going to suck that down by, like, shoving our head into it as we jump. We can also throw a rock at it to knock it down, but you only have a couple seconds before it gets absorbed by the ground. And if you just drink standing water off the ground, even at this size, where the bacteria are probably too big to fit in your body, that's not true. Single-celled bacteria are quite a bit smaller than even a small human. Okay, so here's our research station. I know what this does, though it doesn't do anything yet because we have to power it up. I don't know what this thing does. I think this might be the shop terminal. It is not the age, sex, location terminal.
Well, logic dictates that there are probably more of these stations around. Maybe if I keep searching, I'll find some clues.
So these are going to be pretty important for our entire playthrough, because you need these to get new crafting recipes. Basically, just every time you get a new material, you want to take it to one of these and scan it, and it will tell you some of the recipes that use it.
Science!
Now we know how to make a spear and an axe using this pebblet. As well as rope. Rope is going to be super important too, because like everything in this game uses rope. And the sprig. Alright, and you can see now that we've used up the 3 charges here, which will refill at 9:26 in-game time. So they do have a little bit of a cooldown period, but there's a bunch of these things around the yard, so generally you're never going to be like, oh, I just got to sit around and wait for one of these things to recharge. Spacer, safety test. Category, Spacer safety test, date 08/08/89. 1:54 p.m. in the Tully backyard, supervising scientist Dr. Wendell Tully. So I believe we are in a scientist's backyard, but he is like on vacation or something with his family, which is why you never see a giant person walking out here. Results. Power fluctuations are within an acceptable range. The machine itself continues to operate as expected. Weatherproofing of the platform components is holding up quite well. The pylons, however, are a finicky trio. Maintaining the beam angles requires regular obstruction removal. The yard is simply too alive for precision instruments. Oh, Euclidean space, you fickle mistress. Reminder, check embiggening cell diagnostic before end-of-day protocols. We are going to be finding a lot of lore lying around. We also have these granola bars here. These are really good because not only are they kind of like the rations in Subnautica, food that doesn't go bad, but they actually heal you instantly, and that's something we're not going to be able to do otherwise for a bit. Instead, we'll have bandages that slowly heal you over time. I like that it's like, oh yeah, put in materials, get ideas. Alright. I also don't know if that timer tells you when it's going to be completely refilled, or just when it gets its next charge back. Alright. So, in this first episode, we're probably just going to be doing the first objective, the thing that you would end up doing in the early access.
Hark, yonder lady of the clover forest. On what errand does the day find thee?
Thankfully, ladybugs are non-hostile to us, even though they are, you know, predators. Because they're actually very tough, and they would one-shot us right now if I attacked it. But we are going to need to take them down one day. Alright. So, let's make some rope, so that we can make some pebblet axe, as well as pebblet spear. So now we have a weapon and a tool. I'm going to take the rock off my hotbar, though, because we don't need that. Put that there, put that there. I don't know why it kind of, like, insists on trying to put it back on the bar.
Look at the size of that thing. It's probably the size of a bathroom scale?
Kind of looks like a bathroom scale, too. So this is the spacer he was talking about. You can see the 3 pylons scattered around. So let's just hit the button.
Curiosity killed the tiny Pete. Huh. Well, looks like this thing hooks up with those lasers. I don't think that worked properly. It seems like the machine needs all 3 lasers to function.
So, our very
Think there's a way to
first
fix 'em?
story objective is to fix the lasers, which we can do in about 3 minutes. So we got one here that's flickering out, and we've got one here that is blocked by a piece of grass, which makes me think that none of this grass is randomly generated, because otherwise there's no guarantee that would always be in the way. Or maybe just this one piece is specifically placed. Grass does regrow if you cut it down. You know, they are kind of the trees of this game. So, I don't know if this will regrow on its own, or if I have to break it down like that into fibers before it'll grow a new strand. But I know that you never seem to run out of grass in one area. So that cleared out that laser. We also need to find something to eat. We skipped one of the objectives by finding water right off the bat. Otherwise, it would have told us that. It'll give you objectives at the beginning here for all of the basic survival mechanics. Thankfully, though, this is not a game where the food and water is super stressful or, you know, something you have to constantly keep up. Usually you have to eat like maybe 2 times a day. Though I believe that using a lot of stamina will actually burn through your food and water faster, as it does in many survival games. Let me grab some of these clovers, because we're going to need them later. The FOV is weird, because it feels like it's a little tight, but I think it's already set to like 90 from the get-go. Let's see. Field of view, yeah, it's set to 90 right now. Maybe 95? I mean, it's supposed to feel kind of big. You know, because we're tiny. So having this weapon here gives you a kind of sense of scale. Got a gnat over here. I can throw my spear at him, but if I miss, I really don't want to go chase this thing down or make another one. So, in this starting biome, I can't remember what it's called, or if it even has a name. It might just be kind of the yard, you know, and everything else is different from the yard. No? Pretty sure there's supposed to be some raw science here, but I don't see any. Maybe it doesn't actually spawn in yet. There is, however, sap, which is a pretty handy resource, because you need this to make bandages. And it's not easy to find in this area, since it only comes off of bits of wood.
Consulting Detective Weaver, hot on the trail. He's got a nose for the truth.
Unfortunately, he's also got a body full of meat. So we're going to eat Weevil tonight. Alright, we have recharged here, so let's scan the clovers.
Science!
So we get some buildables, including a lean-to, which is essentially a buildable spawn point. You know, you don't have to build a bed, you can just build a lean-to all over the map. And we get a set of clover armor that we can make. And basically every time we scan something, we get some of that brain power. And if there's any recipes from that tier you don't already know, it will give them to you when you max it out. Just so you don't miss any recipes that you might have not picked up the material for. Okay, now let's just build a workbench, which is going to be pretty important. We're also going to scan a piece of plank here. Because that'll give us all of the basic base pieces so that we can actually build a shelter. And that's all of our charges. Alright, we're gonna need some more sap so that I can make a campfire and actually cook that weevil. But for now, we can survive off of mushrooms. Oh, right. Forgot, you just do that and then let go. I was trying to click and throw it. Apparently they've buffed the spears to do better throwing damage now than they used to, and have it actually be affected by the tier of the spear. I think it just did a fixed amount of damage before. Alright, so let's scarf down those mushrooms.
Ugh. Worse than my mom's Brussels sprouts.
And you can see our food and water meters up here, so you don't have to, like, open the menu, eat something, and then go back out of the menu to see how much food you got. I think the UI in this game is pretty good. Pretty useful. Oh, there's a bee going by. I'm sorry about this weevil. Later on, we won't have to murder the poor weevils, but for now, they're kind of the only thing we can pick on, aside from aphids. We gotta punch down. Oh, I heard something unfriendly. Oh, also got mites here. So, the combat for this game has always been kind of focused on parries more than anything, because that is how you beat enemies that you otherwise would not be geared to just tank, is by blocking at just the right moment to not take any damage at all. And using that, you can actually kill a spider with his starting spear. If I can remember the timing. I don't know if we want to test that until we have to. Okay, so here's the other laser. And we have mites that are, for some reason, eating the wires and not getting electrocuted by the sparks. The mites that are actually eating the wires are set to die in one hit no matter what you hit them with. Oh, it's in that mode where it unequips everything. There's a button that does that, where if you hit any of the keys, it will remove that thing from the hotbar, but I don't actually know what the button is. Oh, you know what it is? If I hit it, and no, never mind. I was gonna say if I hit it and then hit it again, it'll move to a different one. Okay, we need a torch. We need rope. We also need dried grass chunks, which we can get from, unsurprisingly, dry grass. So that doesn't turn into planks, it just turns into a material we can pick up. Which you need for basically any of the fires and torches. Helpfully, they put this sap branch right next to where you're going to need a torch, and then they tell you where it is. Alright, so we'll make a torch.
Let there be light!
You definitely don't need a torch to do this. You can kind of see them in the dark. It's not like completely pitch black when you're underground, but... yeah, I think I parried them that time. They didn't take any damage. Parrying usually stuns the enemy. It doesn't just avoid damage, so they can't immediately just attack you again. Alright, bandages. So bandages heal over time, which means you can't really save yourself from dying by just using one in the middle of a tough fight. You kind of have to run away. We will eventually get a way to heal a bunch of health at once, but that requires stuff we don't have yet. There's also some pebbles here, but we need a hammer to get through there. Throw that on our hotbar. This is our smashing tool, obviously, for rocks and other hard objects. There are also certain enemies that are only weak to the type of blunt damage that hammers do. But I don't entirely know how that weakness stuff works, because they've tweaked it a bunch in the last couple patches before release. Okay, so we got a scabby here.
Additional flavor scheme available.
And basically what that means is you can change the color of the UI. There's both a night mode and a day mode, and you can change both of those to different colors as you find them. Mite Rider is kind of boring. We'll just stay with the default for now. So what is this? This is a sturdy marble. I believe this is a new upgrade material. It wasn't in the game last time I played it, but we need that in order to do some of the upgrades. However, this is sturdy quartzite, which is also something I'm not familiar with, because before quartzite was a tier 1 material. There's also something burrowing under the ground here. We need a shovel in order to unearth it, so can't do anything about that here. Alright. We need to find water, and also the sun is going to be going down
It's getting
soon.
quite late. I should construct some shelter and get some sleep.
I hear... Is that a stink bug? Yeah. You can pretty much identify every bug by the sound they make, because they all make a slightly distinctive sound. I think he's sleeping. He's just farting in his sleep. Like, photo mode in this is actually pretty good for how far you can get from your body. You know, you don't have to run right up to something in order to take a picture. Stink bugs we are not going to be messing with for a while because they will melt you in a couple seconds. Alright, drink some dew. Eventually we'll be able to make a water skin so we can carry around a couple drops.
Nice and clean.
But for now, we can always look up and try to find a drop. There's usually always a few around. They don't, like, completely disappear during the day. Alright, grab all the sap we can. Sap kind of respawns the next day, so if you know where the sticks are, you can always run by them again, and there'll probably be more sap. Alright. We fixed the laser, so now we gotta head back to the machine, which is this way.
Science!
The slime mold pretty much lets you make either a less effective torch that lasts longer than the regular one, or it lets you make sconces to put on your walls, which also are not very bright. Mushroom slurry is for building mushroom blocks for your walls, but that's something we're not going to be doing for a while either. And mite fuzz is used for making arrows and hats. It's also used for taxidermying any of the bugs you want to taxidermy because you fill them full of mites or mite fluff. Alright, let's head back to the machine and try to activate it. We're going to be kind of just focusing on the progress stuff at the start until we get to a point where we can kind of freeform for a while, which is really not that far off. That'll probably be the next episode, is going to be us doing some freeform exploration.
My bad?
So we tried to activate the spacer, but clearly there was something wrong with it because it exploded. So now we have to head over to the oak tree, which was, I remember in the initial early access release, that was the final objective of the story, and then it was like, more story to come in the future. There really wasn't a lot. Also, there's a tape here.
I was a fool to have ever doubted myself. A fool like Klein, like Kaminsky, like Schmechter, like all of Ominent. I am here in the backyard. Down in the backyard. I mean, I am speaking to you from the backyard. I am tiny! I should gather my thoughts. This is a momentous occasion. Wendell Tolley official log, 89.08.05. Recording as I take my first steps into the miniature world. The sights are unbelievable. The textures, the way the light falls upon every surface, the subtle patterns in all of the objects that surround me, the grass. Even common lawn grass looks like a structure from an alien world. Wait, what's that sound? The very earth is trembling. Over there, what could it be? An ant! My God, today the world has changed forever.
I'm actually surprised we got through, like, the whole first day without running into an ant directly. Usually they're one of the first things you see. Gonna wait for our spit-roasted weevil. Doesn't it look tasty? And we want to pick it up before the ant steals it.
Family.
Because if they find any food around, they'll just walk up and take it. And they will try to kill you if you stop them by picking it up right in front of them. So, we can set any of these as our spawn point, which is why we're going to end up building a lot of these all over the yard, so that whenever we're exploring a particular area away from our base, we'll be able to respawn at these when we die. And we are probably going to be dying a lot. There's a kind of like towards the end of the early game, there's a point where to progress you really just need to kill things that are much tougher than you in order to make armor out of them. So that's where we're going to die a lot.
Better than starving, I think.
And we'll just eat this dirty aphid poo. Basically, when aphids suck the sap out of plants, they have to filter out the sugar, and it all comes out their butt. And then ants eat it. Alright, so if we go to sleep now... Yeah, we'll wake up at 3 a.m. Unfortunately, they don't let you set the time you sleep to. You always sleep for 8 hours, basically. Got another water drop here. Might as well suck that down.
Filtration tablets needed.
So yeah, I'm not really sure where we're going to build our base this time. I usually always build over by the water. You know, somewhere along the shore here, because that's kind of the easiest place to see what's around you. However, they finally added the feature that I actually thought they weren't ever going to add, even though it was in the initial trailer for the game, which is bugs attacking your base in, like, waves. That is the thing that happens now. It's something they added during the patches in the summer. So we actually do need to consider a somewhat defensible position. And I don't really know how that system works yet, so we're going to have to learn. Alright, we're kind of just waiting until we can go to sleep without waking up in the middle of the night. Just keep eating these and top up my bar. Is there anything else we can craft right now? We're going to need a workbench, because that lets us make armor and stuff. In fact, we can probably make one of those here. They're not, like, an investment, so we can afford to just make one wherever we need one. So we'll just put one down here for now. You know, this will be our little camp base until we can establish somewhere. And with this, we can make the weaponized sprig, which is a better weapon than the spear, but also slower. And it does a different damage type than the spear. The spear does stabbing damage. I think the sprig just does, like, normal damage, which certain enemies are weak against. So let's see. If we wanted to make the clover stuff, we would need a few more clovers and a bunch of rope. I mean, it's not great armor, but it's better than no armor. And all of the armor sets, no matter what, have some kind of effect. So this one will make our food go down slower, and I think it also has a set bonus. Poncho. Yeah, we need 2 more and another rope for the hood.
Fiat Lux!
I think there's a few clovers around here. They're usually around water. let's go back to the workbench, I guess. I was going to craft the rope, but then we might as well just craft it where we need it. Rope, make the hood, and now we got ourselves a full set of armor. Or we're about to.
I feel a little less squishy now.
Alright, so the set bonus is also that we lose water slower. And thus, our first night was survived. Fairly well, we didn't really run into anything nasty yet. Pete is ready to face the dark terrors of the backyard tomorrow. Alright, should be late enough for us to actually be able to sleep now. And wake up at 5 a.m., whatever. Spiders and other nocturnal predators obviously are the main danger at night. Most of the spiders still run around at night, or during the day, but not the wolf spiders, which are the ones that will really kill the shit out of you. Okay, so now we're going to need to eat some of that weevil. I keep trying to hit spacebar, and I don't even know what spacebar does. You can see when you hit it, it makes the item go gray.
Not bad.
Okay, and we need to find some water on the way, but we're going to head towards the oak tree. And when we get there, that'll probably be where we wrap up this first episode, completing the original story objective. Oh, we got a bit of juice over here. Any of these juice boxes and cans you see around will produce some of that, that sweet juice every day. I hear some raw science. Now it's up on the straw. Can I get up there from here? I think I can kind of go up the grass pieces. It's a little hard to tell where you can stand sometimes. Like, you should be able to stand on every strand of grass, but sometimes it'll just kind of, like, spit you off when you think you can stand on it. Oh, and we got a scabby up here, too. The Puncho. Sure, let's go with that. It'll hurt my eyes after a short time, but then we'll probably find another one.
I'm holding raw science in my hands. What does it even mean?
And whose voice was that I heard in my head? So raw science is basically a research currency that we can exchange for new sets of recipes. And you'll know it's around because you'll hear that humming sound. Alright, we are heading towards the oak tree. The oak tree is probably one of the best navigational aids in the game when you're just trying to, like, keep track of where things are relative to other things, because you can always see it. And you can also always see the house, so, you know, that's kind of your north and south. And that way you don't always have to pull up your map to figure out where you're going. Okay, we've got a scan on the bottom left there, which tells us that there is a research station around here. There is also an orb weaver around here. These things are everywhere. We're going to be fighting a lot of them throughout the game, but early on, they're actually fairly tough. They will bully you. Oh. I think that's a mini one. I think they are actually... Oh, shit. They are resilient against spears. Not the ideal weapon to have to use against an orb weaver. God, the poison is killing me. So, They must have changed that, because originally the Orb Weavers did not have any poison.
Choke it down, Pete.
I like that Pete apparently doesn't like granola. So I parried that there. I think we actually want to use the Sprig against this guy, but I didn't make one yet. Also, enemies will hit you from way farther away than it looks like they should. They have like a huge forward hitbox. So you can't ever just like back away from an enemy and expect to not get hit. Alright, eat my other granola bar for health. Eat my bandages. Oh, that's not bandages. Oh, I don't have bandages equipped. That's why I'm fucking getting messed up here. Oh, please don't bring in the mommy. I can handle the little one, but not the big one. You can sometimes jump to avoid their attacks, though. He almost just lunged at me. Oh, God. Did not think he could path all the way up here, but he's small enough. I need my spear back. It's stuck in his head. Ugh. They've made these guys way... Oh, well, almost fell into the ground. I'm gonna say they made these guys way better at pathing than they used to be. So confident. Alright, well, respawn here. That drops all of our backpack. You dropped everything except your armor and whatever you had in your hands when you died. Yeah, it's just over here. So, I guess we're going to want to make that Sprig so we have another damage type available. We need thistle needles, though, which means we have to find a thistle plant. So, we're not making that just yet. But yeah, you essentially want to have a couple different weapons on you, usually, with different damage types. Though, I don't remember how you scan a bug to find out what its weaknesses is. There is, like, a scan mode.
Taking a look. Map marker placed. Mark that one off the list.
I guess like this. This was basically their equivalent to binoculars that they added, because you didn't really have a way to look at stuff far away previously. And I guess now you can also scan stuff. There's like a... I suppose there's like a shortcut for that, so I don't have to open the quick menu. Anyway, that junior spider should be gone. They don't tend to hang around your body, typically.
I thought I lost you.
We'll get our revenge in a future episode.
Better than starving, I think.
Alright. So over here by the oak tree, we have a lot of sap, and also these acorns, which we're going to need some pieces of to make a shovel. Spoilers, we can make a shovel with that. Which is the basic tool that we are currently missing. And then we'll have all of our basics covered. Bases. Basic. That didn't come out right. Okay. I don't think we're going to go inside the area over here. Because I think there's a bunch of dialogue now, so we'll save that for the start of the next episode, because we want to keep these kind of short. And, of course, For some of the more tedious stuff, especially like base building, I'll probably do some of that off camera in between episodes, because otherwise it's just a lot of me like going out and hauling materials back to base. We don't go in here. In fact, we probably won't ever go in here because there are not one, but 2 wolf spiders in here, and they are super nasty. Like, we got our asses kicked by a small spider. These guys not only can one-shot you, but if you somehow survive their attack, you get mega poisoned. So, we're not ready for them yet. But we'll get our revenge on, well, we'll get our future revenge on them, because we're definitely going to get mauled by one at some point. And I do kind of wish that they had gone with a little more variety towards the end of Early Access, because for some of the tougher tiers of enemies, they just end up basically palette swapping some of the existing enemies. Like, they made Black Widows out of the Orb Weavers instead of actually making a unique model for them. But I still think this game ended up with a decent variety of backyard critters. Not nearly as many as you would actually see in a backyard. You know, the density of insects is not nearly as high as real life, but that would be overwhelming if it was, so I'm fine with that. And I also think that the kind of stylized look they went for makes this game look a lot better than most of the survival games I've played. You know, your various arcs and rust and everything, which may be fun games sometimes, but they are not what you'd call pretty. Rust these days is doing a bit better. You know, it kind of kept upgrading its graphics over its very, very long lifespan. But a lot of, well, I guess because a lot of these survival games are built on Unreal Engine, and older versions of the Unreal Engine even. So those are never going to look better. But the stylized art style in this makes the world look a lot better and more visually appealing than most survival games do. Alright, so this is the source of the explosion. You can see all the purple smoke coming out of here. We are going to go in here next time, so we're going to actually just call it an episode here to get our quick introduction in. Next time, we'll get kind of a better idea of what's going on here in the backyard, and then we'll start exploring around. So until then, thank you for joining me for this first episode, and I hope you enjoyed. And I also hope that I'll see you back here next time, in the backyard, with Pete. Y'all take care.